President Biden telling the White House to batten down the hatches because it is about to get rough. The president getting rocked by more brutal poll numbers as crises pile up. Biden instructing aides to get into campaign mode and find ways to avoid making the midterms about his job performance, but time could be running out. His approval rating is still in a nosedive, hitting a new low of just 39%. And House Democrats are also sounding the alarm on staggering inflation as fears of midterm election losses loom. Even some in the media chiming in on the serious trouble Democrats face in November.
That voters' views about the economy begin to harden in an election year around May. If that theory holds, Democrats are in some serious trouble right now because in our new NBC News poll, just 16% say the country's headed in the right direction, while a whopping 75% say we're on the wrong track. In fact, that wrong track number has been 70 plus for 7 months, which in the past has signaled big losses for the governing party.
Biden also getting a reality check from Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, the billionaire scolding Biden for tying corporate tax rates to soaring inflation and tweeting, the administration tried hard to inject even more stimulus into an already overheated inflationary economy, and only mansions saved them from themselves. Inflation is a regressive tax that most hurts the least affluent. Misdirection doesn't help the country, and today, Peter Doocy asked the new press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, about that very issue. Let's take a look.
How does raising taxes on corporations lower the cost of gas, the cost of a used car, the cost of food for everyday Americans?
So look, I think we encourage those who have done very well, right, especially those who care about climate change, to support a fair tax code that doesn't charge manufacturers, workers, cops, builders a higher percentage of their earnings, that the most fortunate people in our nation, and not let that stand in the way of reducing energy costs and fighting this existential problem.
Jesse Waters, I don't know if that really answered the question.
Not a great first day. That's the only part of the day I saw, but that wasn't very good.
But first days are not.
Okay, hopefully she gets better than that because reading, everyone can read, okay? This NBC News poll was really important because it's NBC. This is like the inside the Beltway, pristine peacock poll. Everybody puts it up on Sunday morning. Chuck Todd, Meet the Press. So that is very scary. It's at 39%. In the wrong way, right way, it's almost 75% in the wrong direction. Another poll had 80% in the wrong direction. Hasn't been that bad since right after January 6th and the impeachment. So these are pretty startling numbers. Biden says he's instructing aides to get tough for the midterms. No, he's not. The aides are instructing Biden to get tough. He's the puppet, and everybody knows that. Why is that? He came into office with all this great political capital. Remember, he was supposed to be the healer. But now the people feel like it's been false advertising, right? He hasn't healed anything. Everything has gotten worse. He's like the doctor. You go in, you tell him your leg hurts. He says, rub some cream on it, and your leg falls off. It's gotten worse. At least Trump, you knew what you were getting when you put him in office. You were getting a feisty rabble-rouser. Biden was supposed to make everything feel better, and everything's gotten worse. Feels like third world vibes. Are you high crime, high inflation? You can't get stuff. There's shortages, empty shelves. This is not the America people love and respect. Now, if you go in and you blow up the border and then divide the country with max vax mandates and then screw up Afghanistan, everyone's going to be like, whoa, whoa, what is going on? But then when you add to that his lack of vision, he didn't see 2 COVID waves coming and he didn't see inflation coming. You're seeing a guy that's just hapless as a leader. And you can either be a poor leader and a good politician or a poor politician and a good leader. Biden is bad at both, and the American people now realize that.
I wondered about this idea that Biden is now telling his staff to get into campaign mode, because I remember it was early on when the Georgia voting law was passed. Remember he called Republicans Bull Connor? I mean, I don't know if the campaigning ever really stopped on either side.
I would like them to be in campaign mode all the time, right? I wish they worked as hard on the problems that we face that they work when they fear that they're going to lose power. Like, generally, we don't have, people in America don't have campaign modes. That's called work, right? You know, it's like, you know, if our job was to care about crime and the police and inflation and the border, these are things that you would care about year round, as opposed to 6 months prior to a midterm. And I think that most political leaders would be nice to see what would happen if they were forced to campaign year round, right? Because that's what when we have a job, right? We just don't get a job and then, ooh, we're in. You have to prove yourself every day. Real jobs, whether it's sales or customer service. You have job reviews, you have bosses, you have deadlines. But once politicians win an election, it's like they stop working. They go, oh, well, I'm in, and then they unroll their sleeves. And I think that's why Trump was so unusual and why he was so hated, because he was in work mode. He was in campaign mode all the time. And people were like, he's exhausting. But the Dems suffer from a weird flaw. They're always political. So the problems don't exist until they become political. And then they're ill-equipped to fix them because they're not used to fixing problems, only causing them.
You're right.
And what do you think about when Americans say that 75% of American people, according to the NBC polls, say that they think the country's going in the wrong direction? I mean, that's actually some pretty good bipartisanship right there, 75%.
Yeah, that's a great point, Dana. I never thought of it like that. Well, look, you know, what do you have when you have a president, a commander-in-chief, who can't see things when they're right before his very eyes? I mean, Jesse, you said he didn't see COVID coming. He didn't see inflation coming. Donald Trump told us inflation was coming. Donald Trump told us the gas prices were going up. And then now, 6 months prior to a midterm, the guy decides, well, gee, we better get it in campaign mode. No, the truth is you don't know how to do anything, get into it or get out of it. So what do? They have nothing to talk about in terms of what they've accomplished. So they pick on the Republicans. And so they say, you know what? The Republicans are terrible. And they think that we're stupid, that if they pull the wool over our eyes, we'll say, yeah, those Republicans, they were really terrible. I only paid $2 a gallon for gas. Inflation was 2%. Now it's 8.3 or 5%. You know, I mean, they just think that we're stupid enough to buy what they're selling. And we're beyond that. We're absolutely beyond it. Right now, American families are anguishing, and they are hurting. They're hurting for baby formula. He knew that was coming. He did nothing about it. His Health and Human Services, Becerra, said, we knew this last year. And then Afghanistan. He knew we had to get out of Afghanistan. It was the worst get out of a country that we've ever seen. In fact, he should have taken the weapons that he left there and given them to the Ukrainians. We'd be better off.
Great idea.
So, Geraldo, one of the things that they have been doing in the White House is having to deal with the far left. So in some ways, they've also been campaigning internally for a long time because they know that Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema are basically helping protect them from bad votes, but yet they still continue to try to drive that messaging to the left in order to placate that base.
If they drive Title 42 to be abolished a week from today, they will have helped destroy the Biden presidency. I think it would be a self-inflicted injury of a monumental dimension, and the reverberations might result in a rout in November and, more importantly, in 2024. I think that with inflation, with immigration, with crime, the Democrats are doomed, except for one thing. This leak in the Supreme Court of the abortion decision has changed the political calculus in this country, and I think that we don't address it, we don't deal with it in a straightforward way, because it will, I see it already in Little Cleveland. Over the weekend, thousands turned out, as they did in hundreds of other places around the country. I think what the Supreme Court has done is ignite the suburbs, and they could change the entire dynamic of the election, despite inflation and immigration and crime and Ukraine and so forth. I think it is so emotionally fraught that it has the capacity of changing the conversation.
All right.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.